All right, and for our face scrubby, I'm going to use 100% cotton. This is like a teal cone that is 100% cotton. It is lily sugar and cream. And you can use any 100% cotton that you'd like, but it does have to be cotton. So I'm going to start with a magic ring. I'm going to hold my yarn with my 2 fingers and my thumb, and I'm going to wrap it around my fingers twice and then cross over the back like this. I'm going under those 2 loops and grabbing my yarn, pulling it out, doing a little twist there, and then grabbing my yarn again and making a chain. You can pause this and rewatch it and run it back as many times as you need to. I think you can even slow it down. But all right, so I've got 1 chain in my magic ring there. How a magic ring works is you pull this tail and one of these loops move. So I know that that is the loop that I would need. Let's see. So that is the loop that I would need to pull for the other loop to tighten. So I will show you how to use that or how to tighten that later on when we tighten it for the center of our face scrubby. But right now, we're just going to work our stitches into the magic ring. So the first thing we're going to do is I want 2 chains here. So I've got 1, I'm going to add another one. This is not going to count as a stitch. It's just bringing up the height a little bit. And now I'm going to double crochet 16 into this ring. So not counting this one, I'm going to do 16 double crochets into that magic ring. I have 16 in here and I have that chain 2. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to tighten this magic ring. So you pull that tail and you see which one of those loops tighten. Now I'm going to grab that one that moved and I'm going to tighten the other loop there. And you see how it's closing at the center? I love this magic ring. All right, so then I pull the tail to close up the rest of that ring there. All right? And now I'm going to slip stitch into the top of my first double crochet. So I'm going to slip stitch into this one. And I'm going to chain 2. This does not count as a double crochet. It's just bringing up the height. And we are going to do 2 double crochets in each stitch all the way around. So in that first one, 2 double crochets. You see we have the 2 double crochets and the chain 2 that does not count as a double crochet. Now we're doing 2 in the next, 2 in the next, and you're doing that all the way around. And at the end of that round, we're going to slip stitch into the top of that first double crochet we made. I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to cut my yarn and pull that all the way through and tighten that up. And you're going to make another one of these. So you have 2 total, and I will meet you back here when you've got 2, and I'll show you what to do next. At the end of your second one, do not cut your yarn. And I have my 2 pieces here. So what I'm going to do is put both wrong sides together. So the way that I can tell wrong sides together is the way that the top of the stitch lays. You see how the front loop is a little bit tilted forward? See how there's the back loop is a little bit higher than the front loop? If you can't tell from the way that the stitches look on the front, it takes a little bit of getting used to what the front and the back look like. You can see the difference there. I just feel like the front part of the stitches is always a lot more crisp and tidy looking, but you can see how the angle of the top of those stitches lays. So the high side is the back. So I'm going to put both of my back pieces together, or back to back here. You can weave in your tails if you would like to do that so that they're out of the way, but I'm just going to work around them. I'm going to put those sides together and I'm going to line up my stitches here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a slip stitch into both pieces here. I'm going to start after that knot. So I hook through both of those pieces, wrap around, bring through both pieces and the loop on your hook. I'm going to do that again. I'm going into the back loop only of both of these pieces, but because they're back to back, they are the closest stitches together. Back loop of the first, the back loop of the second. And because they're back to back, both back loops are next to each other. So slip stitch. And I'm going to work about 2/3 of the way around, and then I'm going to show you an option that you have with this face scrubby. All right, so I have worked about 2/3 of the way around this scrubby, and I want to give this as an option for you if it sounds like something you'd like to do. You leave the bottom third open, and it's almost like a pocket. So you could use that like a scrub. If you wanted to do that, you could leave it like this, or you can continue doing your slip stitches the rest of the way. Slip stitch into your first slip stitch and then tie it off like normal. So if that's something that you would like to do, if you're closing it up all the way, I just hide my tails inside there. But if you want to use it with a little pocket, you should probably sew your tails in before you finish. But there is that option. If you want to finish here, I would do a chain, tie off or snip my yarn, and weave in my ends really nice and tight in there, because make maybe like 5 passes, because it is counting on this knot opening up. So I would just do a few more passes after you do your little knot. You do your chain and you pull it through, and then you do your tying in your ends. So that is the option, or you can close it all the way up. If you would like to leave it like this and you want a little bit more of a finished edge around it, you could just do a slip stitch just in one side. Go all the way around the opening of this. I'll show you that real quick. So I'm just slip stitching in one side only, all the way around. Working around my knot there. Sometimes it's a little tricky as the stitches get tighter around the knot, but just work in there the best you can. I'm going to do my slip stitches around the other side. And when I get to the last, or the first one that I did, just going to slip stitch into that, chain one, Cut my yarn, and then I will sew in my tail, but then you've got your little scrubby you can use for your face. Just going to tie in this end. I'll show you how to do one tail just in case you're not sure how to do it. So you are going to thread your needle. This is a yarn needle, tapestry needle, and I'm just going to go into my yarn. I'm going to thread right through those stitches because the goal is to get the tail of the yarn really intertwined into the stitches so that it does not come unraveled. So typically I only do about 3 passes, but because this is a scrubby and it's going to be used a lot and, scrubbed around, I'm going to do a few more passes back and forth to make sure it's extra secure. And then when your end is tied in, then you can cut your tail right up next to the project, and that will not come unraveled. But that is a little scrubby for you. And you can make it custom to however you would like to use it. For me, it's really helpful to have that little pocket to be able to scrub with. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you had a lot of fun with this face scrubby, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time.